He's not breathing. Xiao Zhan screams for help as Wang Yibo goes unconscious again. July 19, 2025, Beijing. Chaos erupted on the third floor of Beijing Central Medical Center at exactly 2:46 a.m. Nurses dropped charts, an oxygen tank clattered to the ground, and the hallway flooded with medical staff responding to the desperate, blood-curdling scream that tore through the hospital's quiet corridors. He's not breathing. It was Xiao Zhan. Eyes wild, hair disheveled, and shaking uncontrollably, he stood frozen at the side of Wang Yibo's hospital bed, clutching the lifeless hand of the man he'd barely gotten back. Just days ago, there had been cautious smiles, quiet reassurances, a promise to fight through everything together. But now, once again, Wang Yibo's chest had stilled. And Xiao Zhan was falling apart. A night that was meant to be peaceful. Earlier that evening, Xiao Zhan had refused to leave the room despite constant urging from nurses and even the director of the hospital himself. Wang Yibo had shown mild improvement, and there was talk of moving him out of the ICU the following morning. But Xiao Zhan wouldn't budge. "He needs to hear my voice," he whispered, sitting beside the bed, holding Yibo's hand with trembling fingers. "He always listens when I talk to him." The lights were dim. Monitors beeped rhythmically. Xiao Zhan had been reading from Yibo's favorite poetry book when the monitors began to stutter. The collapse. Xiao Zhan noticed it before anyone else. The subtle shift in the rhythm. The faint exhale that didn't seem to return. He looked up from the page, blinked at the monitor, then at Yibo's face, still, too still. He shook his head. "No. No, no, no. Yibo." He stood up, reached out, pressed his hand against Yibo's cheek. Ice cold. Then came the scream. "He's not breathing." Xiao Zhan shrieked, voice raw, echoing down every sterile hallway, ripping through the air like a siren. Medical chaos ensues. Nurses rushed in first, followed by 2 doctors from the ER. One of them yelled, "Code blue! Code blue!" while another shoved the crash cart into position. Xiao Zhan was pulled back by security but refused to let go of Wang Yibo's hand. "Please don't let him die," he kept repeating, tears soaking the front of his shirt. "Not again. Not like this." The hospital room was overtaken by frantic commands. "Start compressions. Push 1 milligram of epinephrine. Clear." The defibrillator pads were placed on Wang Yibo's chest, and the first electric jolt shook his motionless body. Xiao Zhan flinched hard, turning away briefly but refused to leave the room. Again, the doctor ordered. The second jolt. Still flat line. Push another dose. The third shock. And finally, a weak, sputtering heartbeat appeared on the monitor. The entire room paused. One nurse let out a soft gasp. But Xiao Zhan fell to his knees in the corner, sobbing into his palms. Xiao Zhan refuses to leave. They stabilized Wang Yibo and transferred him to an even more isolated unit for critical monitoring. But Xiao Zhan refused to be escorted out. "No," he said hoarsely. "If he stops breathing again and I'm not there, I'll never forgive myself." Hospital staff gave in, allowing him to sit outside the ICU's sealed glass doors. He sat slumped against the wall for hours, eyes bloodshot, murmuring something over and over. "I should have noticed sooner. I should have known. I should have never slept." One nurse later told media reporters anonymously. "He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He kept whispering the name Yibo like it was a prayer. Like saying it enough would keep him alive." Flashbacks to the first collapse. As dawn broke over the city, camera crews began assembling outside the hospital. News of Wang Yibo's second collapse spread like wildfire across Chinese social media. It was déjà vu. Just weeks earlier, Wang Yibo had suffered a similar medical emergency, collapsing on stage mid-performance. That time, Xiao Zhan wasn't there. Their relationship had still been shrouded in silence, tucked behind NDAs and closed doors. But now, the world had seen them together, had witnessed the raw, unfiltered emotion on Xiao Zhan's face the last time he visited the hospital chapel to beg the universe to spare him. And now, it was happening all over again. Backlash and brutal fan reactions. Online reactions to the incident were fierce and divided. Some fans rallied behind Xiao Zhan, trending hashtags like #ProtectWangYibo, Xiao Zhan stay strong. Please wake up Yibo. Others turned hostile, accusing him of bringing bad energy or being a distraction during healing. One toxic thread on Weibo read, maybe if Xiao Zhan stayed away, Yibo wouldn't keep collapsing. His management team immediately disabled comments and issued a brief statement. Xiao Zhan is requesting privacy at this time. His only focus is Wang Yibo's recovery. Xiao Zhan's shocking on-camera breakdown. Later that day, a clip surfaced, filmed by a fan standing near the ICU waiting room, showing Xiao Zhan pacing outside Yibo's room, gripping a crumpled photo in his hand. He suddenly turned to the wall, slammed his fist into it, and collapsed onto the floor again. "He's everything I have," he cried. "Don't take him away from me again. Please. I never got to say yes. He never got to ask. I waited too long. I thought we had time." Security quickly removed the fan, but the video had already gone viral. "I thought we had time." Xiao Zhan collapses outside ICU after Yibo's heart stops. It was almost noon, but Xiao Zhan hadn't moved from the spot outside the ICU. A paper cup of untouched tea had gone cold in his hand, his shirt still stained with tears and hospital antiseptic. Inside, behind the thick glass, Wang Yibo lay unconscious again, pale, motionless, wires tracing every fragile sign of life. His chest rose only slightly now, a machine doing most of the work. Xiao Zhan stared at him with the hollowed-out gaze of someone who had died twice in the same lifetime. The note in his pocket. It wasn't until a nurse gently tried to wrap a blanket around him that Xiao Zhan shifted. She knelt beside him and whispered, "You should try to sleep. Just for an hour. The doctor said they've stabilized him." He didn't answer. Instead, he slowly pulled something from his back pocket, a folded note, creased and worn. It was Wang Yibo's handwriting. A note Xiao Zhan had secretly kept in his wallet for over a year. "If you ever think I gave up on you, you're wrong. I just didn't know how to fight back then." It had been left on Xiao Zhan's doorstep the day Yibo disappeared during their secret breakup, the time they stopped speaking, performing, or even acknowledging each other in public. That note had been Xiao Zhan's oxygen. Now, as he sat outside Yibo's room once again, he read it like it was a lifeline. "You didn't give up," Xiao Zhan whispered. "But maybe I did." Flashback. The night before the collapse. Hours before Yibo's heart stopped, Xiao Zhan had taken out his phone and done something he hadn't done in months. He sang. A soft lullaby, one they used to hum backstage, curled from his lips into the quiet hospital air. Yibo hadn't opened his eyes, but he'd stirred slightly. Xiao Zhan had smiled. "You can hear me, right? You're still in there. Just hold on for me," he whispered as he gently rested his head on Yibo's arm. And then, just before midnight, Wang Yibo's fingers had moved. Just for a moment. Just enough to make Xiao Zhan gasp. But no one else had seen it. "Come back to me," he had whispered through tears. "We have a wedding to plan. You promised." Mysterious voicemail leaked hours after collapse. At 1:12 p.m., a mysterious voicemail began circulating on a private fan server. Though initially believed to be fake, it was soon confirmed by Xiao Zhan's team as real. It was Wang Yibo's voice. Soft, raspy, and clearly recorded in secret, possibly hours before his collapse. "If I don't make it through this, tell him I meant every second. Even when I stayed silent. I loved him with every breath." Pause. A shaky inhale. "And if I do wake up, tell him to stop waiting. Just ask me. I'll say yes." Xiao Zhan's reaction to the voice note. It was the head nurse who showed him the audio, gently handing over a hospital tablet. Xiao Zhan had barely blinked for the first few seconds. But by the final words, he was trembling. Silent tears slipped down his face as he clutched the device to his chest, sobbing into his knees like a child. "I was waiting for you to ask me," he whispered, eyes locked on the glass wall separating him from the man he loved. "Why did we waste so much time?" Unconfirmed reports. Wang Yibo opened his eyes for 4 seconds. Late in the afternoon, a nurse was overheard telling someone at the front desk that Wang Yibo may have briefly regained consciousness, just for 4 seconds. "His eyes flickered," she said quietly. "He tried to look at the door. Maybe he knew someone was there." When Xiao Zhan heard, He stood up and rushed back to the glass window. He didn't say a word this time. He just placed both hands on the glass and leaned his forehead against it, whispering something only he could hear. Some fans believe he mouthed the words, "Come back to me. I'll never let go again." Fans camp outside hospital as chaos spreads. By evening, over 200 fans had gathered outside the hospital gates with banners, candles, and signs that read, "Stay strong Yibo. Jean Yibo forever." He's not breathing, but he's still fighting. An anonymous source from within the hospital security team claimed that Xiao Zhan has refused all offers of transport, comfort, or even food. He won't leave, the source said. He says if Yibo opens his eyes again, he wants him to see him first.